Hi, I'm Duncan Moss, and I'd like to welcome you to another one of my video blogs. It's going to be a Beatle one today. Or Beatle solo really. I'm going to be looking at the John Lennon album Walls and Bridges. Uh, it's not an album that springs to mind immediately if you're not a massive John Lennon fan. Um, you tend to think of Imagine. Now, Imagine is a great album, but I think Walls and Bridges is also very great. In fact, I'd say that Walls and Bridges is one of the three greatest albums that John ever made. Uh, Plastic Ono Band, Imagine, and Walls and Bridges. The album was recorded in July and August 1974. John was extremely disciplined about the album. He got old friends of his like Jim Keltner on drums and Klaus Fortman on bass. And he apparently played the album with the musicians he was using. They rehearsed it all over a weekend, and then uh, performed the album under very disciplined recording sessions. And at the time, John was he was still in his lost weekend. The 18 months that he was separated from Yoko Ono, May Pang, his girlfriend, rallied all the musicians. John came back from LA and recorded the album in New York, booked himself into a hotel, and the album progressed. And it's just a very joyous album. It was released in October 1974, and the first track on the album is called Going Down on Love, which is a fairly low key number, quite quiet, with some very fine guitar. You just wonder whether it could have been given a bit more up tempo, but it's very melodic. Um, John talks about there's a line in it called "precious and rare," something precious and rare, and that line was used as a feature in the Beatles Monthly, basically looking at very obscure and rare Beatle memorabilia. The song talks about going down on love, struggling, problems with relationships. But it's got some very nice guitar. Just it's very low key. A nice way to open the album. The second track, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, was the first single taken from the album, and I was 11 when the album came out. I didn't wasn't really have enough money to buy albums, but the single, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, it got on my nerves a bit. I don't know why. I didn't really like it at all. But a few years later, my brother got it for me for a birthday present, and I loved it then. It's he's got a very what he calls. John was never happy with his voice on a lot of occasions. It's quite his voice in this is. I don't know, was it through a synthesizer or something? But it's very boppy and poppy, and it's got Elton John on keyboards. And the single only got to about number 32 in the UK, which was a shame, but it went to number one in America. And John performed it with Elton John at one of Elton's concerts a couple of months later. We've then got Old Dirt Road, which is a track where quite a quiet number with some wonderful keyboards, and basically John feeling reflective and sad. Uh, Obviously, at this time, he loved Yoko, and the fact they had split up. Of course, they would get back together again very soon after this. Was probably weighing very heavily on him, and I think this is. He talks about being tarred and feathered in old dirt road, and I think the theme carries on into the next track, which is What You Got. A very, very heavy rocker where John's vocal almost goes completely up to its limit. You don't know what you've got until you lose it. I think it would have been a wonderful second single. It ended up being on the B-side of the second single, but for people who like raunchy, rocky Lennon, it's an absolute gift. He then quietens things down again with "Bless You." Could it be about Yoko? Could it be about May? Pang, I'm not sure, but it's a very lovely song, quite quiet. And then we have the sixth track, which is Scared, where John again is not frightened of showing his vulnerability, and it starts off with a wolf howling at the beginning. He talks about almost being tortured, or torturing himself, or being tortured by somebody. He's not a happy bunny at this moment in time. Well, that's the end of side one. If you've got a vinyl, I don't have vinyl, but I do have the CD, which is pretty faithful to some of the vinyl. This opens up into three sections. It's a drawing that John did when he was about 11, and on the back of the album, you've got John being very cocky and silly, but looking very happy. And if we go inside, you get this, there's one of John being even happier, looking, very, very, very happy. Then we've got some more artwork from John's school days, and you get the lyrics as well. Trouble with CD lyrics is it's very hard to read. Don't know who. There we go. There's some more artwork. That's really nice. Because John was a very talented artist. He went to art college, didn't he? I think. Another one, John. I think that's used on the Shaved Fish album. That with his glasses down like that. Oh, sorry, I can't. Let's try and get that looking a bit. That's it. And then this on the front of the album. I said bits of it. It's in three sections, and that's two of the sections. But you can't do. And then that last picture. So rather nice. Lots of pictures. I always like an album that's got pictures. Lots of pictures. I think it's rather sad if it doesn't. Anyway, let's just kick on with the rest of the album. On side one, first track, we have Number 9 Dream, which is a beautiful, beautiful track. It's the second single from the album. Just very melodic. Lots showing that John wasn't just a rocker. He could do very complicated, well set out it's difficult to describe Number One Dream. You'd have to listen to it really, but it's just so mellow and beautiful. And I presume when I've heard it on the radio a lot of the time, they play, which I hope is the radio edit, i.e., not. I presume when you bought the single, you got the whole of the album track, because that's the radio edit, because it's quite a long song. Only is one verse and chorus. A lovely piece of work. The next track is Sweet Bird of Paradox. That's a lovely track. Sweet Seat Surprise, it's called. Sweet Bird of Paradox. And that's a lovely track. Nice use of flutes on it. Again, quite mellow. And as the song progresses towards the end, he starts going up the scale. The instruments start going up the scale, and he goes with his vocal up with them, up to a fade. But it's a lovely track. Then we've got. It's quite funny because I cannot. It's so glinty, but I'm sure that's better, because you can have a thing where you. It's got. Sorry, the song is called "Surprise, Surprise, Sweet Bird of Paradox." We've then got "Steel and Glass," which is a sort of remake of the song "How Do You Sleep" from Imagine. This is about Alan Klein. It's not very complimentary. I'm not here to judge Mr. Klein. I've never met him. Obviously John's not happy with him at that time. It is quite nasty, Steel and Glass, and it sort of goes against the rest of the album. But we've then got Beef Jerky, which is an instrumental. It's the B-side of Whatever Gets You Through the Night. Beatles instrumentals can always don't always work out particularly well, but this one does, and he's got a friend all shouting beef jerky in the song. We then go on to Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out, which is a lovely, lovely way to end the album. Very sad. John, I think, is feeling quite sorry for himself. It's, again, a beautiful song. He sings, "It's all showbiz. Do you love me? What I say, what I say, do you really love me?" Words to that effect. At any rate, he's feeling vulnerable, and of course he was going to reunite with Yoko very soon after this album. So maybe a large part of this album is a battle to win Yoko back. But then we have one last track, "Ya Ya," which is a cover version. John, it only lasts for about a minute and a little bit, but it has 11-year-old Julian, John's son, on drums. He went over to see his dad during the school holiday or half term, and John, no, it would have been the summer holidays, and he messed about in the studio, and he didn't have any idea that when the album was going to come out, that this bit with him on the drums song was going to be part of the album. But rather nice. So that's his Julian's debut, I think, on album, on vinyl, or on an album. Anyway, Walls and Bridges is a fantastic album. It was his last album of all original material until he made his comeback in 1980. Also recorded during the session was the song Move Over Miss L, which is a John track that would be the B-side of Stand By Me. John had been working with Phil Spector on the rock and roll album, which had come against a brick wall, but would eventually be released only a few months after Walls and Bridges, and that would be the single. It would, I think, it did quite well in America, got to number 30 over here. But Move Over Miss L is quite fun, and it's a great album, a really good album. If you wanted another John Lennon album in your collection, then I would say this is the one to get. It's very nice. It's full of rocky and melodic pop, probably forgotten about or a little bit brushed under the carpet when you're because overshadowed maybe by the Imagine album. It doesn't need to be overshadowed, and I'm gonna come up with some fighting talk. I think it's better than Imagine. Oh, well, I like being controversial, but thank you very much for listening. If you would like to share with a friend this blog, or click the like button. What's the other thing you do? Click the like button and you subscribe. That's it. Love to have you aboard if you'd like to subscribe. Well, I'm going to shoot off now, do some swimming, and enjoy the rest of the day, folks. We go in Chessington. It's lovely and sunny. God bless everybody. Bye bye.